All right, Bears fans, welcome back. Bear down. And yes, we're coming at you in the middle of the night. At least I'm recording this in the middle of the night so we can have Tuesday morning free talk. Those of you who haven't subscribed, those of you who haven't checked out the channel a lot, this is something that I've started doing every Tuesday morning. I've been doing it this is the 5th week now. This is called episode 4, but I really did one the first week before the new league season started. So this is really episode 5. And this has the potential, I think, in my opinion, to be the best episode we've done yet because of what we're going to cover in it. There is a lot of stuff happening right now, regardless of the decision being made. Going with a new quarterback, resetting the quarterback clock, and all the implications that go with that. I sound like I have the tinfoil hat and I'm a conspiracy theorist when I say this, but I really think Ryan Poles wanted to go the route of keeping Justin Fields and trading for the Hall, but I think there was immense pressure by the league to not make that decision, to go with a new quarterback. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole too hard because it's only going to make me look like a conspiracy theorist, but I truly believe that was the best path for this organization. The decision's over. It's done with. We're moving on. Now we have a new quarterback. I'm going to use quite a bit of stuff. I usually like to show myself on Free Talk Tuesday. I'll show myself now and then, but there's a lot of stuff I want to go over today that's really the meat and potatoes stuff. And this decision, whether people accept it or not, is not fully made. We have a lot of stuff to go through before the draft happens in 23 days, guys. We're less than 4 weeks away. We're 3 weeks and 2 days away from the draft happening. And for those who don't know, I'll put it up pretty soon. I'll schedule it on my channel for things that are upcoming. I am going live on day 1 of the draft. Because of the draft capital we have this year, 1, 9, and then the 3rd round and 4th round, I'm probably just going to go live on that first day for that hour and a half at the beginning of the draft, depending on if we trade down from there. But that's the plan as of right now. So, a lot of stuff I want to get into. Quarterback is going to be one of the main topics we discuss, but also realistically where we trade down from. So let me put up here some of the graphics that I got together for you guys. So these are the things we're going to talk about today. Quarterback talk, trade down scenarios, the depth chart, salary cap. Let's go through those first, actually. Let's go through the depth chart and the salary cap to show where we're at. And despite what all the naysayers were saying, I did know what I was talking about with the salary cap. I don't have to prove it to you guys. You guys have followed and understood what I was saying the whole time, but I broke it down. I said, when this is all said and done with, depending on how the contracts ran out, it'll be right around $6 to $7 million. But then as we saw the contracts, and I've shown that on here, so if you guys want to recap, go back the last couple weeks and see how they were front-loaded and back-loaded. Front-loaded for the salary cap being lighter, but less cap hit later on. So back-loaded for no salary cap later on. And almost every single salary or every single contract that Ryan Poles did this offseason did that. So it created some more salary cap this year, which means he's planning on something. So we're sitting roughly, this is all updated. Everything is set now. Every contract has a value on Spotrac and on all the websites. Every contract is valued in there. So we're at $23,260. The rookie contracts are going to be roughly $13 million. If we trade down a little bit more, if we don't trade down, maybe a little bit less if we go right where we're at right now. So it's going to leave us with $10.5 million left. Larry Borom is as good as cut, in my opinion. And then a running back is probably going to be cut between either Kerry Blasingame or Travis Homer. This is speculation. I'm not saying it's set that the Bears have said anything. I'm saying this is speculation at this point, but it's realistic to where the Bears are. That will create an additional $3.5 million. So we're sitting roughly $14 million. Ryan Poles likes to go into the season between $5 to $10 million for moves that could happen. And what you're going to see right now is nothing happening as far as signings. Maybe a league minimum contract, a $1.21 million contract, maybe a Mercedes Lewis. But really, that probably shouldn't happen until after the draft because things will happen in the draft. And that's where teams stand right now. That's why you're not seeing the contracts signed right now of those remaining free agents that are bigger names. Because teams want to see how things shake out. Similar thing to what happened with Yannick Ngakoue last year, how the Bears signed him so late in the game. Things needed to shake out. So the Bears right now are sitting with those 4 picks, $14 million roughly left in cap space after you consider those cuts coming into play. So something will happen. They'll sign someone. I'm really hoping that's Connor Williams as he gets healthier into the season. If we carry this $14 million well into the season, it's something like that mid-season that could happen. All right, so let's run through our depth charts real quick. Here's the offensive scheme of where we really need something. We have to get a quarterback, and we have no X receiver. We don't have one. That's why you see such an emphasis by people saying we need Marvin Harrison Jr., we need Romo Dunze, we need Brian Thomas Jr. We don't have an X right now. I mean, theoretically, DJ Moore could fill in for the X, but he's not a true high point, tall receiver. He's a contested catch guy, that's for sure, but he's not the true X receiver. And neither is Keenan Allen. He's more of a slot receiver. So that's where we stand on offense. Here is the depth chart. You can see the things that are boxed are things that we have to address. Quarterback has to be addressed. X receiver has to be addressed. Now, backup receivers, those could be replaced. Usually you see the team going with 8 to 10, maybe even more wide receivers going into the 90-man camp, and then they cut down from there. So the fact that right now we only have 7 means we need to pick a few more up. Nasimba Webster, Colin Johnson, they're not guys that should make the roster, so those are X'd out. Doesn't mean they're off the team. This is just me highlighting and Xing them where things should happen. Next, you go down, you see the left tackle, Larry Borum. That needs to be addressed. The Bears have clearly said they see depth in this draft. Ryan Poles has mentioned this is a deep offensive tackle class. I really see him targeting number 75 as our offensive tackle, unless someone like Joe Alt is there at number 9, which I don't see happening any way you slice it. All right. Jerome Carvin, to me, is really not a competitive player for he's someone you bring in for training camp. He's someone you bring in for the 90-man roster, but he's going to get trimmed down and possibly make the practice squad. Same with Jatiri Carter. I don't see him being on the team after this 90-man cut downs to 53. I don't see that happening. Then Bill Murray, Doug Kramer, same thing. Aviante Collins, same thing. Matt Pryor should be our tackle 4 after we draft someone. And then at tight end, you got Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. Steven Carlson has consistently been on the practice squad. I really see us either re-signing Mercedes Lewis or drafting someone late in the draft. All right, so there's offense. Defense, pretty set. We don't have glaring needs that have to be addressed. A lot of people will say defensive end, but we've talked about this repeatedly. Montez Sweat, when he came in, really made DeMarcus Walker top caliber starting defensive end on the other side. Now, the difficulty is you see Yannick's gone, Rasheem Green's gone, Dominic Robinson is absolutely terrible, shouldn't even be on the team. We've made other signings since. Here's the defensive depth chart, and you see I have scratched out Dominic Robinson. He should be gone. We do have Khalid Kareem. I've got him as a light-colored scratch out because we need better depth there. We have Jake Martin that we signed, but again, he's a rotational, not a starter guy. So really, if DeMarcus Walker or Montez Sweat got injured, we're screwed. And that's why you see people saying we need a defensive end. And I really think we could target one. Right now, we have Dallas Turner coming in for a top 30 visit. But I really think the Falcons will take him. Are we going to go 9 early with Jared Verse or Leatu Latu? I don't know. Nobody knows. So that's what we're talking about these things for. All right, so you see we need a defensive tackle. Byron Cowart is not going to be the 4th defensive tackle. He might be. He might make the spot, so that one might not be as critical. But if someone like Mason Smith is there in the 4th round who doesn't allow a single missed tackle, who last year, at the end of the year, he was considered to be a first-round talent. And there's not really a logical reason why he's dropped so far on the draft boards. That's someone that these analysts, these scouts, these GMs, these teams might be looking at a lot different than what you see all of the mock drafts saying. He really could be a 2nd, 3rd round type of guy. I mean, there's so many like that. So I do see our linebackers being set. I do think Amen Agbanjemiga came in to fill that role from Dylan Cole. And then cornerbacks always, Eberflus has said it, Ryan Poles has said it, we're always looking for depth at cornerback. And you'll see when we look at the top 30 visits here in a minute, they've already got 3 cornerbacks scheduled. Now, that could be that they're looking for someone who might fall out of the draft, who they could sign as an undrafted free agent, or it could mean they plan on trading back a little bit, getting a 4th, 5th round pick, and picking up one of those quarterbacks later on. Someone like Terrell Smith, who hasn't overperformed, who's got a lot of upside and potential, but really needs to prove themselves still. So not a lot of depth needed on defense other than getting a defensive end depth piece. Because if Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker, if either one of them get hurt, we are screwed. Both of them together complement each other. You see DeMarcus Walker ended up 88th out of 118. But look at the bottom. DeMarcus Walker pre-Montez Sweat coming over. 11.05 plays between a sack, hit, or hurry after 9.38. Before Montez Sweat, 33.3% missed tackle rate after 6.3. Dramatic differences. In fact, he was playing about 100th PFF rank out of 118. And after Sweat came over, probably around 50th. 50 to even better, 45th, which is a complimentary solid defensive end 2 in the league. All right, so here's the entire team. What we need on the left in the boxes, the 2 biggest needs: starter, quarterback, starter, X receiver. In the middle there, they're not boxed, but Larry Bourne needs to go, and we could either, that's between starter and depth, because it could replace Braxton Jones. It might compete with him, might be the swing tackle. We need an offensive tackle. Same thing with defensive end. Might not necessarily replace DeMarcus Walker, depending on who we draft. If it's a first-round, 9th overall pick, absolutely would, and then it would knock DeMarcus Walker back to be rotational. But Dominic Robinson's got to go. We don't have a tight end 3 right now. We don't have a backup center right now. Yes, Ryan Bates. Ryan Bates can play guard and center. I really think we brought him in for the backup guard to replace Jatari Carter, but he can fill in as a center. But I think you see Zach Frazier, they met with him at the Combine. We need a 2nd-round pick for that, so we could be trading back from 9 to get an additional 2nd-round pick. We've talked about these things. I'm going to talk about them some more because this is what we do. We free talk it, and there's going to be some good things coming up, so stick with me here. All right, wide receiver, we can use some more depth. Guard, Tyree Carter's got to go. Byron Cowart's not necessarily a lock for defensive interior. That's where we stand there. All right, let's get to the good stuff here. This is the stuff I want to go over today. And I know people who oppose my view don't love this. So, hey, feel free to leave to go check something else out. But there's some good stuff right here, guys. The more I'm looking into this, I do not believe full-heartedly that the Bears are sold on Caleb Williams yet. I think they want to be. And I think they're getting there, and he's clearly the front runner. And I'm going to stick with that number that I keep saying, 90 to 95% that we're taking Caleb Williams. Here's the guy you keep hearing about that's coming out of the woodworks now. Why does he fit so well with the Bears? Well, JJMcCarthy is a Chicago native. Black Ditka on Twitter. Those who don't know him, he follows me. I watch a lot of his stuff on Twitter, @LostHebrew_Dre. He summed this up better than I could say myself. So I know this is small script. I know it's hard to read. So if you want, you can pause it and read it. I'm going to read it to you guys right here so you can hear this. This is J.J. McCarthy from Nazareth High School, 2-time state champion. Obviously in college, we know he led the Michigan Wolverines to an undefeated season this year. College championship. He screams champion. And if we remember what Matt Eberflus said, in fact, I will pull that up here in a minute. I'm gonna play just the audio so I don't get in trouble, but I'm gonna play the audio of Matt Eberflus at the Combine, what he said about what he's looking for in a quarterback. And so many people pounced on that. And they said he's clearly dissing Justin Fields and saying we're going away from Justin Fields. Well, lo and behold, there was some truth to that. But Caleb Williams hasn't won. He hasn't won at the college level. He took an Oklahoma program that had won 7 straight college conference titles. They didn't win. USC was a perennial champion program for the Pac-12. They didn't win with him there. He never won a conference championship. And then we'll go over some other stuff here in a second, but let me read this. He summed this up so perfectly, I just want to read it. He says, this is quoting from Twitter, and again, check him out if you're on Twitter, @LostHebrew_Dre. I have finally come to the conclusion that the Bears will draft Caleb Williams, arguably the highest upside in a quarterback since Luck. But then I started started seeing legit buzz on a quarterback I have watched the least. In my head, JJMcCarthy was average, and there is no way he is going top 10. I couldn't be any more wrong than that. I am hearing he's going top 4, folks, and some believe he could go top 3. I won't pretend like I have been high on McCarthy, but when I started watching his film, I was surprised at his poise, footwork, arm talent, and athleticism. He plays the game like a pro quarterback. This guy looks like a grown man playing quarterback among boys. But I was puzzled at his lack of production. One thing I am learning when evaluating quarterbacks is the fact that traits weigh just as heavily as production. Teams must factor in what a player is tasked to do and what a player is capable of doing. Jim Harbaugh, has coached JJ to play as efficient as possible. He plays far beyond his age, and his game should easily translate to the pros. He has the arm talent to throw deep bombs, the athleticism to complete dual threat quarterback, and discernment to make the best use of his talents. He is efficient in managing a game and keeping the sticks moving. Point blank, this guy doesn't give a damn about personal accolades or the spotlight. He is just a winner. He is tough as nails mentally and physically. He puts extra focus into mental health. He has the it factor, where teammates and coaches just believe in his will to win. He won 2 state championships at Nazareth Academy in Chicago and 1 at IMG Academy. He led the Wolverines to an undefeated record and national championship. He is a hometown kid coached by former Chicago Bears quarterback. Simply put, this is not a guy to overlook, folks. He probably wants to be a Chicago Bear far more than any other player in the draft. Pretty sure we are locked in on Caleb, and I'm excited for our future, but expect the unexpected in the NFL draft. Hashtag Chicago Bears, hashtag Bears Twitter, hashtag homegrown. Man, I could not agree. End of quote. I could not agree any more with everything he just put. And when I was having conversations with Swifty on here, on the channel last week, you guys listened, we talked about J.J. McCarthy. Swifty's biggest thing was, well, just the way they play called with Michigan. And because of lack of seeing enough from him, that makes you not take him seriously in the first. Well, you're seeing him rise those boards. You're seeing him being right up there with Jaden Daniels and Drake May now for the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th overall pick. And I know this is blurry. I'm sorry. I tried to find the graph outside of just a screenshot from Twitter. But this is passer rating and conversion rate on 3rd down from 2021 to 2023. So the last 3 seasons. So after Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, after their draft class, these are all the quarterbacks. This is their quarterback passer rating on 3rd down and their conversion rate on 3rd down, moving the chains. And at the very top there is Jaden Daniels, close to 180 passer rating with 54%, roughly. I mean, it's between 48 and 54% conversion rate on 3rd down. Right behind him, J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix. These guys are all high passer rating. And then from previous draft classes, you've got Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young. These guys are all at the top. Then you've got down on a lower tier here, less than 50%, between 42 and 48, and lower passer ratings on 3rd down, Kenny Pickett, Caleb Williams, Drake May. These things are enough to bring questions into the picture, guys. We want a winner. I'm going to play it here. Let me pull it up real quick. And I hope the audio comes through just fine here. This is Matt Eberflus at the Combine. Those comments everyone was questioning about Justin Fields because he talked about those 3rd down conversions and being a winner.
Those quarterbacks, to me, that's proof. I look at situations. I look at the guys that can operate 3rd down, 2-minute, in the end of the game situations. That to me is that's a separator for me. And then you look at toughness. You got to look, and toughness for a quarterback really is about the mental toughness to be able to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball. And then also have the discernment to be able to move out of the pocket and create when it's necessary.
The reason he's rising is really twofold. One is obviously the winning. He was 8-0 at IMG, won a national title. won 2 state titles in high school before IMG, and then obviously he's the 3rd winningest quarterback in college football history. And his hockey background, the toughness, a couple teams have told me they love that. Was a big
hockey is awesome. This is a hockey player.
Big time junior hockey.
Arm talent, athleticism, it factor, winning with numbing repetition. Don't be surprised.
Okay, so this is a hype video that I don't want to show because I don't want to get in trouble. But first you had Matt Eberflus, then you had from the Pat McAfee show. They're talking, everything here is about JJ McCarthy. And now you're getting Coach Harbaugh talking about him. Obviously, Coach Harbaugh has made the comments that he should be the #1 quarterback in this draft. So I'm going to keep playing it, but I wanted to explain so you guys understood what was going on here. It's a hype video, and that's why there's some music in the background too, but I loved it. All right, so that music's kind of too loud to overcome some of that, but J.J. McCarthy talked about at the Combine, he had a personal interview with the Bears and how it went really well. Now, I would be shocked if you don't see a top 30 visit come from J.J. McCarthy, but it doesn't have to be scheduled. Remember that. It does not have to be scheduled because he's a local prospect. He lived in Chicago. He grew up in Chicago, so it doesn't have to be scheduled. So it's one of those where you'll see after the fact that they have a top 30 visit that will be leaked out, that people will find out about it. Then it will be reported. They don't have to announce the local players that do come in for the top 30 visits, but I absolutely believe J.J. McCarthy will be for a top 30 visit with the Chicago Bears, 100%. Now, do I think he's ahead of Caleb Williams right now in the process? No. It's very clear the Bears are enamored with Caleb Williams. But teams over this next 3 weeks and over the last couple weeks and over the last couple months, they have been looking at tape. They have been picking these players apart. And if you think we've seen red flags in Caleb Williams, they've seen red flags too. Or they've seen orange flags or yellow flags or whatever color you want to call them. But even if looking at this draft or this graph, and you hear Matt Eberflus talk about at the Combine that we want winners. We want someone who's a winner, who has conversions on third down, who can move the chains. Well, clearly from this graph, the best one who's been doing that is Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy. And those two young men played like champions this year. I'm not trying to knock Caleb Williams, but the fact speaks for itself that you've got to take stats and you've got to take tape into consideration. Now, on Twitter, I showed a video today that's not mine, but it's the best breakdown, and it's not Patreon blocked right now. A lot of people who break down film block their stuff with Patreon because they want people to have to subscribe to them. So I'm going to tell you guys on here. I'm going to give it to you. It's called Thinking Football. It's the name of the YouTube channel. 131,000 subscribers, so it's not chump change. It's not small. And the title of the video, it's from 2 weeks ago, is Let's Talk About Caleb Williams. And it's 20-something minutes long, and it goes over everything. The good, the bad, and everything in between. And if you watch the first 10, 15 minutes of it, and it's all hype and positive about Caleb, stick with it. Watch the entire thing, because it's going to show you his crappy footwork and his bailing on the pocket and some of the issues that might persist in the NFL. And it's an unbiased look. Everyone accuses me of being biased. I'm not biased. I'm just not in love with the idea of Caleb Williams yet. He's got to prove himself to me. This is not a Bears fan. This is not a biased view. This is a very positive view, and I loved this video. It's the best video I've watched on the take of Caleb Williams. So check that out if you get a chance to. I'll leave it at this. when it comes to 1-1, I'm not sold that we're taking Caleb Williams. I don't think anybody else should be too. You look at the Bears universe out there, you look at everything out there, and everyone has jumped on that bandwagon and said, it's Caleb Williams. I agree. The tea leaves point that way. But guess what? The tea leaves pointed that we were keeping Justin Fields as well. And you might not agree with me on that one. But the fact is, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Caleb Williams may end up in his hometown of Washington, D.C., and jjmccarthy may end up in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. That might be what happens. Nobody knows. All right, moving on to the next one. Pick 9. I'm getting more and more convinced we're keeping pick 9. Reason being, there's so many blue chip players, and if teams are going to trade into the first to the top 10, that's going to leave either the top defensive player for us, and we're bringing Dallas Turner in for a top 30 visit. He's not my favorite, but clearly the Bears like him. I like Leatu Latu the most, and that might not be the most popular take, but Romo Dunze might be there, Joe Alt might be there, and if one of these blue chip players are there, the Bears have to take him. You can't pass up on a player that would normally be a top 5 pick in a draft at pick number 9 and trade down from there. Now, anything's possible. That's why draft night is going to be the most exciting it's ever been. If we trade down from 1 to 2, if we trade down from 9 to 13 or 14, if one of those things happen, it creates buzz. And then to see what we end up with it afterwards, that's exciting. But what I'm starting to get convinced on is pick number 75. Now, I don't know if he's going to last this long because there is legitimate buzz coming around for him. And his pro day is the very last pro day of everyone's. One day from now, on the 3rd, Yale is having its pro day. The Bears have already scheduled a top 30 visit with Kieran Abenjabi. He is 6'5", 321 pounds, and he has 36 3/4 inch arms. It's crazy. He has a long reach. He is the highest graded small school prospect. You see at the bottom there, that's his PFF. He has 89 PFF overall grade, but his run block 87, pass block 79. No sacks allowed since his freshman year. He hasn't had a sack allowed the last 2 years. He's only had 26 total pressures. Now, albeit this last year he was injured, he only played 4 games, maybe 5 games total. Okay, so there was an injury history there. It's not long-term. Nobody's worried about it. He did really well at the Senior Bowl. He's looked really good at the Combine. He has his pro day in one day. You can see a post I put last night. I screenshotted this earlier, but I said, I'm all in on Kieran Abenjabi. Bears have a top 30 visit scheduled, and his pro day is April 3rd. I'll be shocked if Simo, Chris Morgan, and Ryan Poles aren't in attendance. I'm locked on him at 75 with how Poles mentioned a deep tackle class, career 33 sack hit hurry rate. That means once every 33 plays he allows it. Now you guys have known I pointed out Jackson Powers Johnson and Zach Frazier, 450 plus. Center is easier to have a high sack hit hurry rate. Tackles below 20, well, right at 20 is really, really good. Now, this is college, and it's Ivy League. The competition isn't as stiff. But go Google what Kieran Abenjabi has said about the Combine and about his competition and about his excitement to prove himself. He has it between the ears. I truly believe he is that mentally tough guy that would come in and compete with Braxton day one and beat Braxton out very early on in the season. He just needs to get a few reps under his belt in the NFL level. I like Kieran Abenjabi at pick number 75. The Bears do too. The problem is I don't know if he'll last till 75. All right, now the basis of part of this video. Most likely trade scenario. I want to point something out. The little red lines, and I know this is the Draft Tech trade value chart, and the red lines show the separation in days. So day 1 is the first column there. Day 2 is second and third round. In between the first and fourth column, column 2 and 3 is the second day. And everything over from 4 to 7 rounds is day 3. Those picks right there, number 33 and number 101, are considered some of the most valuable picks in the draft. Because when you're done with day 1, when pick 32 happens, the day ends. Teams then go back to their war room. They go recoup. They look at what players jumped into the first round that shouldn't have, didn't make it in the first round that should have, recalibrate, and then select on the beginning of the next day after they've had hours to deliberate. So Carolina, I don't see any way with no first-round pick that they trade out of number 33. They're going to keep that pick and most likely pick a wide receiver, in my opinion. Doesn't matter who they pick. They're probably not picking out of 33. If you look at the last 2 years, the Bears last year traded out of that pick in the 4th round, number 103. The end of day 2 happens. You go away for the night. Teams want to trade up to that pick. Teams want to trade up to 33. And so teams will offer compensation to come up and do it. And the Bears last year traded back. They got number 115 and number 165 for trading with the Saints for the Saints to come up and pick the first pick in the 4th round. They picked Nick Saldiveri. The Bears ended up getting Roschon Johnson and Terrell Smith. They had a chance to regroup, be able to analyze, be able to trade away and get 2 picks. Well, 2 years ago, the same thing happened. The Bucs traded out of the 1st round, but with that, acquired both the 33rd pick, the first of the 2nd round, and number 106, which in that year was the first of the 4th round. And they also got number 180, which was the first of the 6th round, but that's not as important in the scenario we're talking about. Then they were able to regroup, reanalyze. So they traded out of the 1st round, number 27, and went back 6 spots and picked up additional draft capital so they could recoup, be able to reevaluate, and pick the players that they wanted. It happens all the time. So if the Bears are really sitting there, one of the scenarios that I think is most likely, rather than trading out of 1 or 9 or 75, is really trading out of 122 and coming up. Well, the reason why, look at the draft capital we have next year. Now, ignore the blue box for a minute. That's my hypothetical scenario, and it fits perfectly. So right now, Carolina has 101. This is 4th round and later for them. They picked up an additional 5th rounder by trading with the Giants. So the Bears have 1-1, 1-9, 375, and 4-122. I think the most likely trade scenario is the Bears to try to pick up another pick this year to trade up to 101, which would be the beginning of the 4th round, and pick a player that they've been watching that slipped out of the 3rd round and get someone that they think is 3rd round quality that is still high quality, because in this draft, it's pretty well known that the top 75, 80 are really the top draft capital, and then it kind of slides off. But someone always slides through. Someone on your board that you're watching. So if the Bears gave up 122, a future 4th and a future 6th, because look at all the draft capital we have next year. We have a 1st, 2 seconds, possibly 2/3 if it's speculated Ian Cunningham takes a GM job. That's the Rooney Rule. We'd get 2 picks for the minority initiative, our own 4th, a 5th, and then 3 6 with one of those potentially being a 4th. So we could have 1 1, 2 seconds, 2/3, 2 fourths, a 5th, and 2 6, or 1/4 and 3 6. That's 10 picks. Either way you slice it, we have 10 picks next year. We have 4 this year. And right now, the Panthers have 2 picks back-to-back in the 5th. They might be willing to drop back and pick up some extra draft capital next year. So the Bears could give up 122, a 4th and a 6th next year for basically a swap to come up to 101 and a 5th and 7th. So giving up a 4th and a 6th and getting a 5th and a 7th. Right? So it's just a scenario, and I think this is more likely than people realize. That would give us an extra pick this year. Ryan Poles is targeting cornerbacks with some of his top 30 visits. I really think that 142 pick could be a cornerback, and 101 could be right there with a player that slips out of the 3rd round. So here's the Bears' top 30 visits as scheduled right now. I might have missed one, did my best to research it. On the offensive side of the ball, we have Caleb Williams scheduled, Dylan Laub, who is a late-round running back right now, tight end Brock Bowers, offensive tackle Kieran Amanjabi, wide receiver Rome Odunze, and center Zach Frazier. There's no way we're getting Zach Frazier unless we trade out of 1 or 9 and get a 2nd-round pick. On the defensive side of the ball, Dallas Turner, and then 3 cornerbacks, Nehemiah Pritchett, Elijah Jones, and Cam Hart. Now, again, I'm going to reemphasize, top 30 visits do not mean that those are players we're taking. Sometimes we have to cross them off our list. Sometimes they stick out in one way or another, and we need to bring them in, analyze them, get more information. Sometimes it's smokescreen. That's not as likely, but sometimes it is smokescreen. There's a lot to consider with all of these different things, but it also does give you a gauge of where the Bears are looking. All right, so I'm going to do it with you guys real quick. I'm going to do a quick mock draft simulator. We're going to go ahead and do it, and we're going to simulate what it might look like to trade out of 122 and get those 2 picks. Take Kieran Abinjabi at 70, and he might not last there, guys, on this PFF simulator. He might not last there, so let's see what happens. We're going to go ahead and take Caleb Williams. And again, I'm going to say it. I'm not sold that that's going to happen. I really think there's a lot ahead of us that could happen here that's going to make things change. Now, look, on this one, it didn't happen. Rome Odunze went 5 to the Chargers. jjmccarthy went 3. Joe Alt's gone. Rome Odunze's gone. So I really think this is the scenario where we would trade back. Who's available here? We're going to go ahead and trade with the Raiders. We're going to get 13 and 44 for 9. You're going to accept that. And this is where I would take Brian Thomas. Now on here, they look like they say he's not going to go as high as we say he is. I really don't think there's any way he lasts that long. We get Brian Thomas. All right. We're trying to go through this quick. Sorry, guys. All right, 44. Zach Frazier's there. The Bears have him coming in for a top 30 visit. This is a scenario where we get Zach Frazier. Boom, done. I'm trying to see if Kieran Abinjabi goes. I don't see him gone. Let's look at tackles here. I'm not trying to make this one a long one. Patrick Paul's there. We'd definitely take Patrick Paul. He must have gone somewhere. I don't see Kieran Abinjabi going before Patrick Paul. See, that's the thing with these simulators, guys. He went at 55. There's a lot of hype around Kieran Abinjabi right now, but there's no way Patrick Paul is going before Kieran Abinjabi. So we're going to show the scenario, though, where we would trade. I don't know why this isn't working very well on here. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, we're just going to finish this thing out because it's struggling when I'm using it on my recording studio system. We're going to finish this draft out, and then I'll hurry and do one, and I'll post it up here what it looks like, though. So let's just look at our tackles. No way Patrick Paul is here. We'd take Patrick Paul in a heartbeat. And we're going to take 122. We're not going to do the trade here. I'll do a different trade, and I'll show you what it would look like. Kind of defeated my purpose here. But we're going to go with... Not loving everything here. I mean, there's so... Ben Sinnott's not lasting this long. This is what I hate about the mock draft simulator. This is why I create my own mock drafts, guys. So you can see some things of what it would realistically look like. PFF is up in the night here. PFN. But that's the thing. On draft night, these things could end up so much differently than everyone expects. Braden McGregor's not going that late. A.J. Barner's not going that late. I'm looking at names flip by. There's no way some of these names are lasting that long. All right, so here's our draft. This is one scenario, and you guys can fly through your own scenarios and enjoy doing these. I would be very happy with this draft. Come on. All right, so we got Caleb Williams, Brian Thomas, Zach Frazier, Patrick Paul, and Ben Sinnott. Great draft, in my opinion. All right, I hurry and went and did it on PFN. Let me hurry and upload the image. I actually did 2 real quick. So let me show you what it would look like. Screenshots. All right, we got it to fall just the way that I wanted it to. Caleb Williams there at 1. Rome Odunze ends up being there at 9. We get Kieran Abinjabi at 75, and then we trade with the Panthers. We get 101 and 142. We gave up 122 and 2 future picks, so we only have 8 next year. But there were 2 people there at 101 that I would really like, and that's what I'm thinking is if the Bears want to trade up to the beginning there and get one of those guys, both Cade Stover and Mason Smith were there at 101. I really like what Shane Waldron can do with his tight end sets. Having Cade Stover would be really beneficial to be able to develop him under the other 2 tight ends that we currently have with Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet. And then at 142, Zach Zinter was still there, and a lot of you know how I already feel about Zach Zinter. So it's really a possibility that could end up happening. Then for kicks and giggles, I know we love this type of stuff, guys, because I wanted to show the whole JJ McCarthy thing. If we trade it out of 1, we get 36, we get 70. It wasn't 72. I might have made another trade. It might have been 67. So 36, 67, and a future first. I tried not to milk it too much and get the haul. Just get a first, second, and third, and a future first, because that's probably more realistic of what could happen. Traded down 1 spot, got JJ McCarthy. At 9, most of our guys were gone, so I traded down 1 spot. I'm not sold on taking Dallas Turner, but we got an extra pick. We got number 72 by trading down 1 spot with the Jets. We took Dallas Turner, so we've got our edge. And then we picked up Adonai Mitchell at 36, Xavier Legette at 67, so we double stacked up the wide receivers to learn under the 2 studs that we already have. Kieran Ogunjobi, 72. I'm not a fan of Cedric Van Pran, and a lot of people are, so we got him at 75, and then we picked up Cade Stover at 122. Guys, the opportunity of this draft is endless. We're not stuck on one way. So no matter what all these people are telling you, that the Bears are going 100% Caleb Williams, yes, right now it looks like that. But that doesn't mean things don't change. They change all the time. You see lying season like crazy, and nobody knows right now if the Bears are absolutely hyping up Caleb Williams to try to get the Commanders to come up to 1. They don't. It looks that way. It appears that way. I'm with you. It's 90-95% we're going Caleb Williams. It would take a pair of brass balls for Ryan Poles to take the trigger, take it off of Caleb Williams, trade down for a little bit of a haul, and take J.J. McCarthy. But he is the hometown boy, and he knows how to win. 2 state championships in high school, undefeated college season. He knows how to manage a game, and he knows how to convert on 3rd down. The thing is, guys, he's a winner. I feel the same way about Jaden Daniels. I like to see these quarterbacks ascending and improving. That's part of what I loved about Justin Fields. He was improving every year. You can make excuses for Caleb Williams, but go watch that breakdown on him. There are things that are scary about his game. He is not a clear-cut number 1 overall pick. And there's no such thing as a clear-cut number 1 overall pick. In the last 10 years, quarterbacks picked in the first round who are still with their team, their same team, in 2014, none of the 3. 2015, none of the 2. 2016, none of the 3. 2017, one of the 3. That's Patrick Mahomes. 2018, 2 out of the 5 picked in the first round are still with their original team. 2019, 2 out of 3? Maybe not Daniel Jones, so maybe 1 out of 3? 2020 is the special class that can be referenced as the successful quarterback class for everyone in the first round. That's Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa. All 4 of the first rounders are still with their original team. That's what you want to see if we're picking Caleb Williams or J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels. You want to see this guy become the staple for the Bears for the next 10 years. 2021, 1 out of the 5. Only 1. That's Trevor Lawrence. The other 4, all on different teams now. Justin Fields being the last one who went to the Steelers. 2022, as you get to the more recent years, it's not usual that these players would be off of their original team in the first or second year. But Kenny Pickett, now gone. 2023, all 3 still on their original teams, as they should be, as it would be a shock if they weren't. But how many will stay there? Will the Panthers fix the situation for Bryce Young to give him a chance to excel and succeed? Or will he go through a Justin Fields type of situation and scenario? Will they continue to suck because they didn't build up properly? And next year, or 2026, where there's a very special quarterback class that I've talked about on here, will they be replacing him and shipping him out? Anthony Richardson, will he get healthy? Will they fix it with him and the Colts? The Colts have a really, really special opportunity to help a young quarterback. So he could be very situated very well to do well there. Will Levis have a chance with the Titans? He wasn't a first round pick though. CJ Stroud obviously looks like he's probably going to succeed with the Texans. So this quarterback carousel, if teams don't do it properly, they end up having long-term issues that don't support the quarterback. the Bears are in a special position no matter who they take. Whether they take Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or jjmccarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. or Drake May. Whoever it is should succeed in Chicago. We weren't the worst team. We have a good situation ahead of us. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Went a little longer than I wanted to, but Free Talk Tuesday, no matter what everyone's telling you, it is not decided. There's a lot of things to look forward to. We have top 30 visits this week. I'll update you as soon as I know stuff, let you guys know what I see going down, where the Bears stand on everything. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you all have a wonderful day. I really appreciate everything you do to support the channel. If you guys don't mind, if you haven't hit subscribe, please hit subscribe. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. It helps that algorithm thingy to get it around to other people. I do appreciate all of you. Have a great day, and until next time, bear down.